Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Crisis rocks the leadership of political parties as national party officers of the PDP resign and the APC have eyes set on them. And APC members seeks dissolution of the Governor Mai Mala Buni-led caretaker committee of the party. Well, this is Plus Politics, and I am Mary Anna Cole. Seven deputy national officers made up of the Deputy National Publicity Secretary, the Deputy Legal Advisor, the Deputy Women Leader, amongst others, resigned their positions, citing bad treatment. The PDP National Chairman, they were saying that this was the treatment they got from the National Chairman. Now, they also cited financial indiscipline and poor leadership as reasons for their resignation. This latest event may fuel the crisis rocking the leadership of the PDP. Well, joining us to discuss this is a former special advisor to the River State Governor, Ponabo Inko Tare, and of course we will be having join us the former publicity secretary of the People's Democratic Party in River State and the APC chieftain Ugochukwu Nzekwe. But thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Inko Tare.
Thank you. Good evening, Marianne, and good evening, viewers.
it's interesting to see that, you know, we were just recently talking about the crisis rocking the APC, but it seems like the PDP is not left out on this drama. I mean, the PDP has lost soldiers, they've lost governors, they've lost senators. Now they're losing strong members of their party, and they're citing bad treatment, you know, by the chairman of the party. Do you have any idea what exactly these people are referring to? Mr. Tyra, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think he's frozen. We're going to try that again. Let's see if we can get him back in, but we'll take a quick break. These things happen. We'll be right back.
There has to be a decision point. The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You're going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken.
Of you?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
we
without
had that
showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, "You can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house." I said, "Well, it's my body and it's my front room."
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go
to.
home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's still Plus Politics, and we're talking about the crisis rocking the PDP and, of course, the members of the National Working Committee who had resigned, citing bad treatment by the chairman of the party. Now, thank you for joining us, Mr. Nzekwe, and thank you very much, Opunabo, for joining us. So I asked a question before we went on that break. What exactly do you think the people who resigned were referring to as bad treatment? Because these are high-ranking officers in the People's Democratic Party.
Well, first, one is not really surprised. I'm not taken aback because there have been precursory signs of this to happen and many more to happen. In the past, the leadership has been accused of high-handedness in collusion with some governors. More so, you will agree with me that nobody wants to be treated with these days. I mean, lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. And they have accused, they planned their resignation on the disdain treatment they received from Prince Uche Secondus. That being the case, but I believe, or my conviction is that it has to do with pecuniary reasons. When they say, they rightly said so too, but not necessarily for altruistic reasons. I believe that they carried out their act, or they resigned simply because they've not been carried along financially. They probably must have been sidelined, and they must have had a judge preceding the resignation, which did not yield anything fruitful or reasonable, according to them. So they had to resign rather than being sidelined. This also tells you that the party is in crisis, just like the APC. The party is in crisis. and it has also threatened the party's ability to take over come 2023.
And talking about financial recklessness, because these are some of the things that were cited in their claims.
That is what they allege, financial recklessness.
Yes, and you're saying that these people may probably have not been carried along. How do you leave a party that is in crisis? I mean, at a time like this, when political parties are supposed to band together, everybody's trying to realign, getting ready for 2023. How do you leave the PDP for the APC, who's also having its own internal crisis? I mean, what's the sense in that? Again, as the PDP is seen depleting every single day, is there any hope for the PDP in 2023?
Well, I just told you, I said the chances of the PDP ousting the APC in 2003 is quite slim, given the defection that has taken place in recent times. Nevertheless, talking of defecting from the PDP to the APC, just as some members are defecting to the APC, some members are also defecting to the PDP. Like I said yesterday, if I have to jog your memory or brain a little, I told you, I said most of these politicians don't have ideologies. They are all there. They're in politics for gastric reasons. They're in politics just to feather or line their pockets. They are not in politics for any Nigerian. They are not in politics to smoothing out the racks in the society. They're in politics for their own personal gain. And so when they leave the APC, PDP for the APC, probably they must have reached accommodation with members of the APC for one appointment or the other. And that is exactly what has happened. So nobody should be deluded thinking that it's for altruistic reasons, it's for autocentric reasons, not for altruistic reasons. Whether the party succeeds from 2023, it's a different thing altogether. When they get into that party, of course, they'll work with the APC to ensure the APC perpetuates itself in office. Those that are going to leave the APC for the PDP will also ensure that the PDP out the APC come 2023. And that is it. Whichever wins, well, that is well, I hope it will depend on the masses. I said I hope. That is if the elections are not going to be rigged, because there are also precautionary signs that there are plans for the elections to be rigged, given the opposition that created the transmission of results electronically.
Let's even start by, I want us to, because I mean, you worked under a PDP government, so you have some, insight into it. Now, let's look at the leadership.
But I must state here now that I'm not in APC or PDP.
I know that. But I want, let's examine the leadership of Prince Uche Secondus. Now, let's not also forget that the problem that is rocking the PDP, the APC right now, is also bordered on leadership. But let's look at the leadership of Prince Uche Secondus and the people that came before him. How well has he fared as a party chairman in terms of steering the ship, in terms of, blurring the lines and, strengthening the party? How well has he done? Let's take a look at, his leadership skills.
Well, I will be pontificating if I give a penetrating thought to Prince Uche Secondus' leadership style. Because I'm not a member of the party, that is number one. And most of these things are internal. They're intra-party. It's not like a government that is open to public prognosis. This is an intra-party matter. The only issue I have is that PDP has not been a virile opposition. That is given. That one is irrefragable. Nobody can argue that. But to talk of the internal workings of the PDP, I know that there are lots of disgruntled party members, and they attribute that to high-handedness, not just from Uche Secondus, but by even some governors. And they believe that Secondus is being remotely controlled by certain governors. That is the truth. But I cannot tell you for say, I mean, when I talk of specificity, I cannot say this is the actual problem, but for what these people have said yesterday when they resigned. They talked of financial recklessness and high-handedness. Well, talking of the high-handedness, I can't really say, but there are strong, and even Muazu alluded to that once, and so many other persons have alluded to that. So that is one fact. But talking of the financial recklessness, I'm not privy, I'm not seized of their financial transactions or their financial dealings, so I can't really say. It is incumbent on them to apprise the public of what they mean by financial recklessness. if they have received money, if they've been receiving money, and secondaries have been unilaterally spending that money without recourse to due process. Probably that is what they mean.
There have been cases where, like you said, governors have also been seen, being somewhat high-handed in the party, and certain governors seem to be more powerful than other governors. Some of the reasons why the governor of Cross River State said he left the party for the APC was that he was not allowed to be the leader of the party in his state, and that, a certain governor in another state was causing trouble within the party in his state. So you see the case of high-handedness. And if governors of states are complaining about the fact that they're not allowed to run the structure of the party in their states, again, the PDP is supposed to be playing a strong opposition to the APC, as we saw when the PDP was in power, how the APC was able to run them out of government. And we're not even advocating for anything, but we're just saying the duty of the PDP seems to have been abdicated one way or the other. Should this also be heaped on the head of the party chairman, or is it a blame that should be shared by all and sundry?
Well, talking of playing an active role in the opposition, let us not forget that under the Jonathan administration, Jonathan was quite impervious, was quite tolerant. He tolerated a lot of views, dissenting views, and so on. And he was more of a Democrat. But in this particular instance, you find out that there are so many attempts, relentless attempts, to muzzle the press and to change the freedom of information and expression. So when you say the APC was quite active when it was in opposition, it was consequent upon the leader, the president at that time, who gave room and allowed a lot of things to happen.
So you're saying that the Buhari, so you're implying that the Buhari administration is stifling the voice of the PDP. Is that what you mean? The fact that you're saying there's no freedom of information. You're saying that the voices of the PDP members or the voice of the opposition is being stifled. How?
I am saying categorically that under this present administration, the rule of law has been caged and the administration of justice roundly subverted. There are relentless attempts to muzzle the press. They come up with all sorts of laws. We are aware of the Twitter issue. We are aware of the NBC code. We are aware of so many of them, at least a plethora of them, in order to intimidate the press and suppress opposition, because they see dangerous enemies in the faintest shadow and decipher sinister plots behind every dissenting word. That is not in doubt. Nobody can dispute that under this administration. But under the good Lord Jonathan, that administration was more tolerant than this one. This one is impervious to criticism. Anything they came up with the hate speech, whatever. Meanwhile, there are laws to address those things, extant laws to address what they are afraid of. The very thing they are working against was what they weaponized under the Jonathan administration to remove Jonathan from office. So you cannot compare when it comes to free press, freedom of the press. You cannot compare the Jonathan administration with that of the Buhari administration. That I can say categorically, and I stand to be contradicted anywhere.
Interested. Let me go to Nzekwe, Nzekwe, who's joining us on the phone. Have we lost him? Apologies, we have lost Nzekwe. He probably will come back. But let me come back to you, Opunabo. We know, as at a few hours ago, that Joy Modi of the PDP has recently joined the APC. That's the only name that we can name right now. And we know who...
That's Benue, is it? Benue State, is it?
Yes.
The senator.
Yes, and she was part of the board of trustees of the PDP, but now she has joined the APC. This obviously means that, like you said, there's something within the APC that's attractive, and that's why they're joining the APC. We haven't heard from the other 6 members where they're going, but we know that they have resigned. The states that have the PDP seem to be southern states, and there are people who have, the pundits who have said that soon the PDP might just become a regional government. You know, just like APGA is now a one-state party. So do you see this happening sometime soon, that the APC might just, one way or the other, compress the PDP into just a few states in the south?
Well, without any attempt to foreshadow because even 1 minute means a lot in politics. 1 second. A lot of people, I mentioned yesterday, a lot of people that have defected to the APC today might go back to the PDP if their terms, if their conditions are not met. Because like I told you, they did not defect based on principle. No, it was for their own selfish reason. They just felt like those who talk of high-handedness, they just felt that their ambitions will not be brought to fruition in the PDP. So let us move to the APC. The same thing too, ditto the APC members that are defecting to the PDP. So it is too early in the day because most of them might defect back to might go back to the PDP, and most might go back to the APC. But if you compare the crisis rocking both parties, I think it's worse off in the APC. It's worse off in the APC.
I was really hoping that you'd say that, and then I had a question because as bad as the crisis, as bad as the crisis in the APC is, we still haven't seen anybody move grounds. And I remember talking to a member of the APC one of those days.
But you just mentioned Joy. You just mentioned Joy, who was moving to PDP.
No, just hold on.
And Otom moved from APC to PDP.
Yeah, well, but just
Joy,
hold on.
sorry, moving from PDP. Otom moved from APC to PDP.
No. Joy moved from PDP to the APC.
APC, what was Otom?
Well, just hold on. I'm going somewhere. As bad as the crisis in the APC is, we've hardly seen anybody decide to move to the PDP. Now, I remember when I was talking to a high-ranking member of the APC, and he asked a simple question to the opposing side, the person who was representing the PDP, that what does the PDP have to offer? That the APC is the party in power, and of course, if you join the party in power, there's a lot more to gain from it, other than a party that's gradually dying. These were not my words. So really, if these people were to move to the PDP, what's the guarantee that the PDP has the power to give them what they want? That is the question I'm going to be posing to you again. As bad as the situation is, people are going to court. They're asking that Buni be removed as, the head of the National Working Committee. All of the problems they're facing, the failed congresses and this, conversations around if they're going to have the congresses all over again, the people have stayed put. What does that say about the PDP?
Well, like I said, I'll reiterate that it's too early in the day because a lot of people, in less than 24 hours, thousands can defect from one particular political party to another.
You keep saying that, but in the past few months, we've only seen a mass movement to the APC. We've seen the PDP lose governors. We've seen the PDP lose senators. Right now, members of the Board of Trustees are being lost to the APC. We're not seeing the same from the other side.
Don't also forget that just 24 hours to the election, a lot of people might also move from one party to the other. That's what I'm telling you. And what I extrapolate from what you said, somebody again said, is that they are going to bring the accusers to bear. Because the movement yes, it is going to have effect. But the masses are the ones to decide which party is to win. And that is why we'll call for electronic voting. Now, a lot of them are moving to the APC. Even in the APC, you have the Scotland Jones. The man who spoke with you, I don't want to mention his name, but I can guess, I can surmise, who spoke with you is not on terms with the leader of the party. And don't forget, it has really nothing to do with numerical strength because you can be in a party and become a fifth columnist, like what happened in Rivers State in 2019, where those party members were the ones that truncated the participation of the APC in Rivers State. So it's not all about that. It has to do with interest. So that's what I'm telling you, that right now it's actually too early to say which party will win. You might be surprised that even the Fresh Party might win. Because a lot of these APC members might also leave the APC and defect to another political. That was how the APC was formed. Just to how the PDP. Before 2015, there was no APC. In 2014, there was no APC. That was how the APC was formed. So certain persons might also decide to come together to strengthen an existing political party for it to emerge victorious come 2023. That's the point I'm making. Okay. Because a lot of people that have defected to the APC will not remain in that APC come 2023. I bet you. Not most of them, because The moment the ambitions are not met or guaranteed, they will defect. They are not doing it in the interest of the public. It's for selfish reasons. It's for selfish gain. And most of them are money bags. So they can afford to finance or sponsor another political party. Let us use Obama's example, who is a senator today, who is also contested. He later went and joined the YPP. When he realized that his ambition in the PDP will be made hamstrung, he joined the YPP. These things will happen. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Let's talk about, now that we're talking about other political parties, the former chairman of INEC, Professor Tahiru Jega, had a few words for Nigerians, and he did speak about the fact that Nigerians should, dump the APC and the PDP because they have not served us, since we decided to go down this road of democracy. And he also slid in the fact that he was also becoming a member of a certain political party that might not have been as big as the PDP and the APC. So my question now is, with all of the infighting in the big parties, do we see smaller parties emerging, or like you said, maybe forming another front like the APC did? Do we see most of these politicians also moving to those smaller parties and trying to see if they can run? Because I asked a question yesterday, all of these parties, whether big or small, do they have ideologies? What are those ideologies? What do they stand for? And as you have said, since the politicians do not have ideologies, we keep crisscrossing. And where does that leave us as voters, we the electorates, who have to choose between the devil and the deep blue sea?
Do people really vote for political parties? That's where I call the Supreme Court judgment.
But that's what we see. That's what we see on the ballot paper. We don't see the names of politicians. We see politicians.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I fault the Supreme Court judgment that said you vote for political parties and not for individuals. Marianne, let us not deceive ourselves. We all know that membership of a party is not planned on the ideology or constitution of that party. It is planned on your loyalty to a particular individual and not the party.
How do you mean?
That's the truth about it. If I have a follower and today I'm a member, hypothetically, a member of WWW, name of a political party, and I'm defecting to YYY, all my loyalists will follow me to YYY. They will not remain in WWW. That's the politics we play in Nigeria. So that's what I'm saying. All the political are devoid of ideology. They could come up with recently, even the part of the problem in APC is because they have a caretaker committee chairman which is in breach of their constitution. So nobody really obeys constitution, or nobody is fidel to ideology. Nobody. It is all about the individual and personal interest. That's the point I am making. So if today they move, these money bags move from party A to party B, their loyalists will move with them. And most of them can reach accommodation to say, okay, let us all support a particular candidate or particular candidates in some parties with our monies and with our influence and with our clout. That is what will play out come 2023. So the victory of a party depends on the individuals, not necessarily the party's constitution, not necessarily the party's antecedents, not necessarily what the party can offer. Because if you talk of party, what does the APC offer? Nothing completely. What we have is cataclysmic leadership.
Okay. Complete
failure, abysmal performance. So how, if you based on rating, on performance, what do the APC, how can the APC return to office in 2023? It's not possible.
So,
just not possible.
One last question before we wrap it up, because we're out of time. We keep talking about the fact that these political parties have no ideologies and they have nothing to offer. But then we're asking Nigerians to become parts of this political party so that their voices can also be heard and they can feel more represented, other than wait till the party, presents a candidate. So shouldn't we, as Nigerians who want to join political parties, or should political parties in Nigeria start having the conversation about what their ideologies, their clear-cut ideologies are, as opposed to just moving from party A to B, in order to strengthen the core of those parties, instead of seeing these mass movements when it's close to election season?
No, membership of a political party does not really ensure change in that political party because you already have people with mindsets. Parties are ruled by liege lords. Those I call liege lords. You have the liege lords and you have the liege servants. So you already have those that are in charge of that political party. And it is what they say that will be done, that will be carried out. So the only weapon the masses will have, the voters will have, is their voter's card. And that is why we talk of electronic voting, because you at that point
is that really a tool that they have? Because really, these parties have already decided whoever they want. They throw up whoever they want.
That's what I'm saying. So now
who may not necessarily be who we want. So really, do they have a choice?
That's what I'm saying. That's the point I mean. So that's the card. So that when you say Mr. A, come on, my followers, go and vote for Mr. A, we will all go there and vote for Mr. B. And once Mr. A is out of office, there is really nothing they can do. Most of these governors come to, by next year, mid next year to end of next year, you see a lot of people will be resigning from their cabinet, from the offices. I am telling you, because they are just there, not because they are happy with the system, but for stomach infrastructure. They have to survive. That's why most of them are still there. And most of these governors are aware. So all we need is our voter's card. That is the weapon we have. So that we say, okay, fine, collect this money from this man. We are going to vote for Mr. A, sir. But if we step out, we vote for Mr. B. That's the only way we can effect the change. But if you think that just being a member of a party, what are you going to do? You're just there to carry out orders. They go into a closed door meeting, come out and tell you, this is what we want you to do. Go ahead and carry out this order. It's as simple as that. There is really nothing you can do.
All right. Well,
and if you talk, they say, if you were that brilliant and you were that politically sagacious, why are you not a governor? Why are you not a minister? Why are you not a president? These are the questions they ask you. So, but the mere fact that they did what they did and it took them to where they are today, they believe they are sagacious and it is the best thing to do.
Opunabo Nkotara is a former special advisor to the governor of Rivers State. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Marianne. Thank you.
We'll take a short break, and when we come back, of course, we will talk about the APC member asking the court to annul the congresses that happened over last weekend and sack the Buni-led committee. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. My guest today is Alfred Okoro.
The Nigerians here seem frustrated. Everybody wants to leave. And the moment they cross these waters, they excel. Both Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, South, everybody in Nigeria. We've been ranked the most successful ethnic group in the United States. Why is it that we excel there, but not at home? Our diversity makes us the better. I believe so. I will be one of those to tell you I do not believe this country was designed to succeed. But so what? Nobody wants to start anything that they will not live to enjoy.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them.
If you don't talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has been asked to sack the May Mala Buni-led Caretaker Committee, an extraordinary National Convention Planning Committee of the All Progressive Congress, and nullify all the actions taken by the committee so far. Well, joining us to discuss this is communications analyst Ihechukwu Ibeji and legal practitioner Stephen Agiode. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. I'm going to start with you, Agiode, because this is a legal matter, and we know that one of the reasons why the Congress is being challenged is that there were certain issues, legal issues that had preceded this Congress. In fact, people were hoping, or many had said that this Congress should not happen, and many had asked that Buni himself step aside. But now, someone is now going to court to challenge, the leadership of Buni and asking him to step aside. Now, I'd just like to refer to a judgment that was done on the APC Congress, and I'd like to talk about the implication. Apparently, the APC, like I said, had approved the Congress for last weekend. The implication of that case was that going by the just delivered judgment, any election that would have been done by the Buni-led committee can be challenged in a competent court of law by opposition parties and even members of that political party. But breaking down to the simple man as to what exactly is happening in the APC and why even opposition parties can challenge the internal politics of the APC.
Well, it all comes down to the case of Akeredolu Jegede, which was recently decided by the Supreme Court. 3 of the justices made what they would call in law obiter statements. That is, statements that don't go to the root of the case, but affect the issue at hand tangentially. They were not the basis of the decision. What the 3 judges said was that under Section 183 of the Constitution, the executive governor of a state cannot occupy any other executive position. The provision of Section 183 is very clear. Once you are a governor, you cannot take up any paid employment, or you cannot take up any executive position. So it is the obiter of 3 of the justices of the Supreme Court that has raised the issue of whether this caretaker, the executive committee of the APC, which is being operated right now as a caretaker committee, is legal. And whether APC is not in danger of having actions taken by that body nullified in future and declared illegal. So that is the root of all this controversy.
Let me refer to what Mr. Festus Keyamo, who's a member of the APC, had to say. He had advised that the party avoid a wave of legal battles. He also said that the APC had the option of excluding not only Buni, but anyone holding the executive position in any government establishment from the Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee as stipulated in Article 17 of the party's constitution. He also went ahead to talk about the fact that under Article 25 of the APC constitution, it is the national chairman or 2/3 of the members of the NEC, that's the National Executive Council, that can summon a NEC meeting. And he said, I quote him, "Since we cannot vouch for the legality of any NEC meeting summoned by Maimala Buni now, the safest way or the safest thing to do is to get 2/3 of the NEC members to sign an invitation to summon a NEC meeting where the CEC-PC would be reconstituted and the party would be safe." This was what Festus Keyamo said. My question, obviously, is why is it taking, I mean, we've seen, this is a member of the party who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria. Why is it so difficult for the party to absorb what even their legal practitioners are, saying? Again, let's revert to what happened over the weekend as to the APC congresses. There are contemplations as to whether these congresses might have to be done all over again. Does that not show that the party is being messy, or there is a serious split as to opinions within the party?
Hello, David.
The way to put it.
Hello?
The way to put it is that the party.
Why are you guys not picking your? I called the Alpha.
The party is spotting problems where they should be none. In the first place, a democratic party has no reason to have in place a caretaker committee. But if for any reason necessity made you have such, one would have thought that at the earliest opportunity, you would reorganize yourself and go to convention. I had thought that when the caretaker committee was formed, the object of it, what would have immediately happened was that the APC should have gone into convention mode. It is that inability to move towards a return to democracy that is causing all this. You remember this caretaker committee has been around for about 6 months or so now. There was ample time to rectify the processes of APC. It's a shame that we are here. Particularly, it's happening at a time when PDP itself is also in crisis. So our political system is almost in a mess. It's sad. It's very sad.
All right, let me go to Ihechi. I hope you can hear me. Ihechi, can you hear me?
Hello, I can barely hear you.
Okay, I'm going to try as much as possible to be audible. Just as you have heard Mr. Stephen Agiode speak about, the crack in the party, and the Congress that we had over the weekend, and we can see that there's a back and forth as to whether Buni should step down, whether he should be sacked. Now there's a man in court who has officially lodged a complaint asking that he also step down for the party to be able to move forward. Let's assess, the APC right now, because we just finished talking about the PDP and the internal crisis that they're facing. Even at the fact that the APC is having internal crisis, we still see people leaving the PDP to the APC. And I have asked this question over and over again. Will the APC be able to survive 2023? Because many pundits have said the foundation of the APC was not built on solid ground. Where do you stand on this?
Okay, so I think that, and good evening, everybody. I think that what is happening now, the kernel of this issue is in this recent judgment, this recent Supreme Court judgment, this recent Supreme Court judgment that tilted just very narrowly on technicality to the hands of the current Ondo State governor. And all of a sudden, the foundation doesn't look so solid, coming from where political actors in the APC are looking at it. Now, while the PDP people, and look, it's a game of politics, pure politics. Previously, before that particular court judgment, you had seen that some of the PDP, you had a PDP governor who had decamped, and some PDP governor who had decamped, and some PDP members who had also decamped. But what has happened with this judgment now is that all of a sudden, with the faint 4-3, right, narrow split in between that judgment in favor, and the issue that brings to bear the legality of the current caretaker committee as against having a democratic structure in place to have the power to appoint to nominate governorships or across board. What it has done is that it has given them a fear that if they go ahead with the world congresses and they continue to go ahead with the major elections, anybody can come out and take them to court, and using that technicality that has been pointed out, and of course, completely destroy their plans. So what you're seeing is pure politics. And there is a real chance, looking at it from this court judgment now, that can happen. That all their plans, if hinged on the foundation of a Supreme Court judgment that has made it look shaky, all their plans, if they eventually win, can come crashing down. And look, let me tell you the truth of the case. Just as you're seeing in Anambra State now, people are ready to go to court on the flimsiest of excuse because the price is choices. And let me be very frank with you, I do not think it is about the people at this point in time. It's about personal interest. All right? And so people want to be in power for as long as possible. So you have a caretaker committee chairman who continues to carry on because he has supporters and people who believe that he should be there. But on the other hand, you have a greater interest of people who also feel that the caretaker committee chairman, who is the governor, should not, at the same time, hold the office of the chairman. They have their own interest. So the truth is that there's a real danger that going by this current court judgment, Supreme Court judgment, if they use that as a plank, or if they ignore that and go ahead to build on world congresses, go down to nominations of across national across state and national locations, that in the build-up to 2023 election, there's every possibility that court judgment can be used against them in the eventual turn of things. And that would be very, very disastrous to them. So even the PDP people who are decamping now are beginning to think twice, I should think. And that is the kernel of the problem.
Let's again, I want to push you further because we see that this is a factional problem within the party. And there are those who are behind Buni, there are those who are against him. But if the party were to decide to choose someone to head that, committee, that caretaker committee, who do you think would be the best person that would represent all the opinions, all of the people and their interests? Don't forget that there are many key players. We have the national leader of the party on one side. We've heard all kinds of rumors as to the cracks within the party and those who are supporting him. We saw the APC in Ekiti just before the Congress and, the issues that they had. We saw parallel Congresses in different parts. We saw in Abia. The party has also come out to say that they're going to punish the members of their parties who have gotten into those parallel primaries or parallel Congresses. So there seems to be so many factions. Who can be that unifying person within the party that would be able to lead the party out of the distress that they seem to be in?
Well, to be quite frank with you, there seems to be, in terms of agreement, there seems to be an agreement that the current judgment has brought up a serious issue that must be addressed. So that's why you see a lot of meetings are being held, even from the very highest point, even involving the vice president and every other person. Now, aside the current caretaker committee chairman, there has been no clear-cut person, a contender who has come out as a date to show interest in that current seat. But there are interests. And there have been suggestions, even from the background, that the previous democratically elected structure should be reinstated. You get it? So now, that is a major plank of what is currently going on. Now, at the point where there's going to be a meet of, okay, can we get that democratic structure as a suggestion to avert any issues that this caretaker committee, in terms of using it and looking at its legality, will bring up in future, that is when you are going to see the person behind the curtain. But trust me, the wave, the push for a democratically elected structure and a chairman, as against having to fall to pieces for a court process, is being done by an unseen hand. And that's how politics is being taken. And that's exactly what's going on. So no name can be brought to fore. Suggestions, previous democratic structure should be brought to place. But guess what? Even the previous democratic structure had their own baggages. And those baggages were the things that pushed them off the pitch in the first place. So there must be a person who they'll come up with in terms of a consensus that is going to help to settle that, okay, he will stand for the caretaker committee and he will stand for the future. But the truth is that they have to do it fast. They have no chance but to do it fast because some world congresses have already been done based on this current caretaker committee. So they have to get it down and then decide whether they're going to hold world congresses all over again. Okay.
Back to you, Mr. Gende. Let's talk about, again, he's raised a lot of issues, but I will try to lump it up in one question. We've looked at the legal angle, we've looked at the political angle, and all of the problems that could be. I just spoke to someone from the People's Democratic Party, or someone on the issue of the People's Democratic Party, and the fact that there are people in the PDP still moving to the APC. But he just made mention of the fact that most of these people who have gone to the APC will probably be regretting it because of the issues that are already in the party. Now, I asked earlier on the foundation of the APC and how the APC came to become the APC, and a very huge opposition to the PDP. We saw the different political parties that came together. And I want to ask the same question I asked him. With all of these blocks and the strong men that these blocks have, do we see the APC surviving this particular storm? Because it looks like you said, the easy thing or the easy way out is out there in black and white, but nobody seems to want to toe that line or take it and make everything go away. But even if they were to toe that line, does it make the problem go away? Or are there deeper problems? Is there the hand of Esau in all of this? And where does the president come in all of this, being that whether we like it or not, he's an APC member, even as he's our president?
But the last thing you said captures it all. In fact, that's where I was going. You see, the way we have evolved our presidential system and our party system, the president is the leader of the party. The current crisis is the buck stops at the president's desk. If the president had been proactive, matters would not have got to this head. In my view, viewing it politically, President Buhari did very well when there was a crisis with the with the previous executive. He managed to stabilize the party by bringing in a caretaker committee. But as things progressed, I thought it behoved him to take another step and say, okay, this temporary measure, how do we find a permanent solution to it? I mean, let's look at this thing first of all. I remove my lawyer hat and I take a political hat now. You are the president of Nigeria. You have had a hand in the caretaker committee being put in place. In Nigeria, we have this issue of zoning and federal character. If only it was for that issue alone, I would have thought he would have said, oh, I am the president from a certain part of the country. The head of the party previously was from another part. So therefore, this temporary arrangement can only last for so long. I need to move forward. I need to ensure that the party goes to convention, the proper part of the country to which such a post should be zoned to, should go to it, and all that. So I see what has happened as something that at the end of the day, the buck stops with him. He could, if we say who failed in this matter, we would have to look at him very closely and say, couldn't he have done better? Then now you have a situation even that the president has just 1 year more to go. What if you look at it, where we are is that the president has only 1 year to go. We have an APC now, which at this junction, we don't have aspiring presidential candidates. Nothing is going on there. We cannot even say, oh, come, let's second guess. Who will be our president in so time? Who is setting out an agenda for the future? A troubled economy, population overblowing, so many problems. So who is setting an agenda? Who is talking about APC? There's nobody talking. Nobody talking. There's no presidential, there's no hope of somebody coming to take over. Nobody is setting off a future vision. I mean, it's the silence of a graveyard. Then you have the PDP. Well, ever since they left power, they've been a shadow of themselves. There was no regenerating vision, nothing. The party has just been a lackluster opposition. In fact, there has been no opposition. What we have seen now is that there are party people just move from one party to the other. I mean, I fear for my country.
On that very gloomy note, we want to say thank you, gentlemen, because we're out of time. Ihek Chukwu-Ibeji, Stephen Agiode, thank you very much for being part of the conversation. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you all for being part of the conversation. I will see you tomorrow on Plus Politics. I am Mary Anna Cohn. Have a good evening.